Let's go through a very quick exercise just to make sure the idea of stop sequences and message prefilling are super clear. So in this exercise, I'd like you to write out the exact code I've got right here on the screen. All this code should be really familiar. If you take a look at the prompt, it says generate 3 different sample AWS CLI commands. Now when you run this code, you're probably going to get back some output that looks vaguely like this right here. Just to make it a little bit easier to read, I rendered it as Markdown down here. So here's the sample starting output that I get. You'll notice that it does give us 3 different sample commands, but it has a lot of commentary around them. So I've got a header and then some numbers listing out each individual command. For this exercise, I would like you to take this code and using only message prefilling and stop sequences, I want you to get all 3 different commands in a single response, all right next to each other without any additional comments or explanation or anything like that. And I'd like you to do this using only message prefilling and stop sequences. So no adjusting this prompt at all. So go ahead and give this a shot. I did put a little hint on here, just as a reminder, with message prefilling, it's not limited just to using characters like the backtick, backtick, backtick. You can put any kind of prefill response you want. I would encourage you to pause this video now and give this exercise a shot. Otherwise, I'll go over a solution right away. So here we go. Here's how we're going to solve this. To solve this, the first thing I recommend you do is take a look at the output without any kind of prefilling or stop sequences or anything like that. So if we take a look at what we have right here, we'll notice that each of our 3 commands are wrapped in a series of 3 backticks. So a good place to get started would probably be to put in a pre-filled assistant message of 3 backticks to kind of tell Claude to just go right into the command writing right away and skip any initial commentary. And then we might also decide to put in a stop sequence of 3 backticks as well. Let's see how far that gets us. So I'll put in a add assistant message, and I'll start everything off with 3 backticks, and I'll put in a stop sequences of closing 3 backticks. Let's run this and see how far it gets us. My initial output looks kind of reasonable, but it's not perfect just yet. I do get 3 commands. So there's 1, 2, and 3. But you'll notice that I also get the word bash added at the very start. So where's that word coming from exactly? Well, let me show you what Claude is really trying to do here. We provided the initial assistant message of those 3 backticks. Whenever you put down 3 backticks, it's kind of indicating that you are writing out some markdown. And when you are writing a markdown code block with backticks, you can optionally put in a language identifier right here. If you choose to put one in, then whenever you render this as markdown, the content inside of those backticks will be rendered using that language's syntax highlighting. So in this case, Claude decided to put in bash right here just to say, hey, we should use bash style syntax highlighting when we render this stuff out. Now for us, we don't want that at all. So one way we could address this would be to adjust our prefilled message right here and just include bash ourselves. So that's now going to make it super clear to Claude itself that yes, you are inside of a markdown code block, and inside this code block, you should be writing out bash formatted commands. So let me try running this again and see how I do now. Okay, so that looks better. Now I will tell you that from this point, there are probably 2 additional errors that you might want to address. The first is sometimes you will get back a single command, which is kind of an indication that Claude might want to write out 3 separate markdown code blocks. The other problem that you might run into, because we are now using a bash code block, Claude might try to insert some bash formatted comments in there as well. So it might be something like, this command does XYZ, and you might see that repeated. And so we definitely don't want those comments, really just because that was one of the requirements of this exercise. So to get rid of those comments, and to also make sure that we get all 3 commands more reliably, we can use that hint I gave you. Remember, the hint was message prefilling isn't just limited to designating characters like backticks or stuff like that. We can also use the message prefill to dramatically guide Claude in how it's going to answer us. So in this case, we could add in something like, here are all 3 commands in a single block without any comments. And then I'll put in a colon right there, and then a new line, just so it starts all the markdown stuff on the next line down. So I'm going to try running this, and we should now get some much more reliable output. Okay, that looks good. And of course, I can keep running it all day, and we're probably going to see exactly the result we want. Okay, this looks good.